Breaking news. We take you to Conway, Arkansas, folks. There has been a mass shooting where 11 people got shot, 2 died. And police are finally about to give a press conference very, very shortly. So we're going to listen in on the press conference. They're going to give an update on what happened here in Conway, Arkansas. Some of you might or might not know, on Sunday night at a park, which is called the 5th Avenue Park, there was a gathering. It looks like a gathering of college students, college, university students, a gathering at a park in the evening time of Sunday before it got dark. A lot of people out there in the park. They're saying it was hosted by the University of Central Arkansas and the University of Arkansas. And then suddenly, boom, 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 boom. Shots all over the place. Everyone's scattered. You know the drill. We've been watching this over and over and over again at public gatherings, these mass shootings. So 2 people ended up dying, and I've been doing a little research here, and one of the victims is actually a sister to a Kansas City Chiefs football player. His name is BJ Thompson. He is a player for the Kansas City Chiefs. His sister, his little sis, has died from this. His little sis, her right there. So we're going to get an update. They're having a press conference, first time getting information. No one has been arrested that I'm aware of at this point. So whoever did this mass shooting is still out there on the loose. Armed suspect or suspects, plural. I would think it's probably multiple people are involved. And there's another victim here too. Multiple people involved in this crazy shooting incident. So this is kind of the scene of what happened. Crime scene tape, Conway police. If you guys aren't familiar with Conway, it's a little bit north of Little Rock, up I-40, outside Little Rock. So it's a suburb of Little Rock, more or less, probably about a half hour from Little Rock. But what we're going to do, folks, is before they play this press conference, I got a couple clips. We'll get us up to speed about this terrible tragedy. Will they announce an arrest? Will they announce any suspects? Will they share any surveillance footage of anyone if they're not caught to try to help the public in identifying who did this? I'm sure they probably have an idea, you would think. So the very first thing we're going to play here is 2 dead and 9 injured in Conway, Arkansas, mass shooting. I'll play that right here. All right. So that was a reporter at the scene. This happened Sunday night after it happened, the shooting. We got a clip here. I want to share this clip here of the shots of a guy sitting. Viewer discretion is advised here. But it happened, it looked like right before the sun went down. I don't know at an exact time. Police will share that when they give this press conference in the next 9 minutes. But it's some pretty wild stuff, folks. What happened here? You know, this is a university. Here you go. Crazy, right? The craziness. Once again, public gathering, fun, boy, young people,
what the fuck?
The juveniles have been running amok all around the country. It's pretty crazy here. So you got an idea. It happened a little bit before as the sun was going down, and then the crime scene was set up throughout the night, Sunday night. Got another clip here I'm going to share. Just give you more information. We are waiting for a press conference that's scheduled in the next 8 minutes at City Hall in Conway. This will be the first time police talk about what happened here. Maybe they'll announce an arrest, maybe not. Suspect, maybe they say they're still looking, investigating. So in the meantime, we'll play another clip. Conway shooting leaves 2 dead, 9 injured. It's coming from THV 11. Let's listen in.
That something this close to home could happen.
A neighborhood park in Conway is now a crime scene after a deadly shooting during a party Sunday night. Thank you for joining us tonight at 5. I'm Faith Woodard.
And I'm Rolly Hoyt. 2 people are dead, 9 others are hurt, and there are a number of questions left unanswered almost 24 hours later. THV 11's Rebecca Brown has followed this story since it started.
Rebecca, what are police saying and how are people in Conway feeling after this deadly mass shooting?
Faith and Rolly, I've reached out to Conway police multiple times, asking the tough questions the community is desperate to have answered. The biggest one, am I safe? So far, the police haven't shared any information about a suspect, not even a person of interest. The people living by the park described the scene as chaotic, traumatic, and unforgettable.
It's going to be something that's going to affect everybody in this area for a long time. And if they get over it, it's going to take them a while because it's shocking.
What began as a night of celebration quickly turned into chaos and heartbreak Sunday night as gunfire erupted at a party full of hundreds of people at 5th Avenue Park in Conway.
And to know that that party was not meant to be that, I think it was a lot of college kids having a good time, and it started out as a really good time. And to see that it turned into what it did is just really sad.
2 lives lost, 9 more injured by gunfire. Nicole Wise Pruitt, who lives just across the street, says she's never seen anything so heartbreaking.
You could see officers trying to resuscitate people and then stopping, and we knew that, things probably weren't good at that point. There were some young women who were out here and their friends were trying to pull them back over to this way, probably where their cars were parked, and heard some of them saying, "Jesse's gone." And it's just something I won't forget. It was really sad.
Jerry Evans, a retired Army veteran with PTSD, says the gunfire triggered old trauma, forcing him to barricade himself inside his home.
All that and that post-traumatic stress just kicked in, and it really, really affected me a lot, and it still affected me a lot. And that's why this is the first time I come out, and it's now 12:35, and I've been in there, trying to deal with it. Couldn't sleep.
Evans says his first instinct was simple: survive.
Try to take cover and make sure that I wasn't hit or anything. So it was shocking.
With the community shaken and hearts heavy from loss, Nicole says the park will never be the same.
Still never would have thought that something this close to home could happen. And I think that it's still a great park. I just hate that now it's going to have the stigma attached to it.
In Conway yesterday, 2 people were killed and 9 others hurt after shots were fired at a park. Welcome to Arkansas Today. I'm Katrin Asaf. We're getting right to the ongoing shooting investigation happening right now in the city of Colleges. That's where we find our Tylisa Hampton. She joins us live from the area where that shooting took place. And Tylisa, have police shared anything new this afternoon? What do we know?
Well, Katrin, let's start with what we do know. It looks completely different from last night. No caution tape, little to no police in this area after all of that video that we saw from that shooting last night where 2 people died, 9 people were injured at 5th Avenue Park. Now, we have not heard too much from police. We do know that they have not said anything on a suspect or on the names of those victims, but I just spoke with the father not too long ago who said his son was at this park when the shooting happened. He said that his son was here because they were supposed to hear from a number of local rappers, so it brought out a lot of kids in this area to go see it. However, he said things took a turn when guns got involved in obviously those shots that they heard in this park. He says that thankfully his son made it home unscathed, but he says his thoughts and prayers are going out to those families whose child did not make it home. Now, we reached out to the University of Central Arkansas because this is Conway. It is close to the campus. They said as of right now, they have no confirmation that UCA students or anyone from the UCA community was involved with this shooting. However, they did say they're concerned because some UCA and other college students may have attended what was billed as a social event at this park, even going so far as to say that they have seen promotion and advertising for this event that was scheduled here yesterday using the UCA logo. Now, they say any information or promotion involving UCA is false. They said UCA has nothing to do with this, and the university also said that their thoughts and prayers are with those families impacted. Conway police are investigating, talking with witnesses. Hopefully we hear much more coming soon. And we also do know that assistance is being provided by Arkansas State Police. Reporting in Conway, I'm Celeste.
Come on the air, still no arrests have been made following last night's explosion of violence in Conway. What began as a Sunday fun day party at the city's Fifth Avenue Park ended in gunfire. 11 people were shot. 2 of them have died. Well, good evening. This all happened a little more than 24 hours ago, shocking the community in Arkansas's fastest growing city. The shooting victims have not yet been publicly identified, but Conway police are expected to shed more light on this tragedy during a news conference tomorrow morning. In the meantime, Channel 7's Emma Allen joins us live from Fifth Avenue Park tonight with more on the reaction that has been pouring into this from all around Arkansas. Emma.
Well, Chris, that's right. And just to give you a set of the scene here, it is a very quiet night here in Conway at the park. You can see behind me there's a memorial that has already been put up for those victims of yesterday's shooting. And community members tell us today they want answers.
A party turned deadly. 11 people were shot at Fifth Avenue Park in Conway Sunday night. 2 of those victims died. Tonight, reaction is pouring in from locals.
There is a fear that is kind of lingering amongst all of us that are here in the area, that's working here, doing business here. It impacted all of us here in Conway.
Sharon Bothwell is a Conway resident that lives in the same neighborhood as the park where the violence took place. She tells Channel 7 News she plans to move.
Somebody was walking my dogs during the time it happened, so they could have been shot. Too close to home for me. I'm close enough out of here.
Organizations from across the state are also chiming in. NAACP Arkansas State Conference President Barry Jefferson said in part, quote, "We encourage the Faulkner County community to walk together at a time like this. Have conversations among the adults, youth, and young adults to see how this matter can be resolved and how they can enjoy each other without violence." Another statement coming in from Arkansas Democrats. They say in part, quote, "This is a devastating and senseless tragedy, and our hearts are with all of the families that have been affected by this horrible incident." They say Arkansas ranks worst in the nation for gun safety laws. They go on to say in their statement, quote, "Despite this, today the Arkansas House advanced a constitutional amendment that would make it easier for dangerous criminals to get access to harmful weapons." And we've heard nothing from Governor Sarah Sanders, Representative French Hill, Senator Tom Cotton, or Senator John Bozeman.
Well, Chris, like you said earlier, the names of those victims have not been identified yet, but we do know community members want answers, and we're hoping to get those sometime tomorrow. On your side in Conway, I'm Emma Allen.
Okay, Emma, thanks very much. Again, let's turn to our Andrew Mobley. He spent the day speaking with witnesses to last night's violence, as well as people who live here around Fifth Avenue Park about what they experienced last night. Andrew.
By many accounts, the party last night was just a harmless social gathering with dancing until several men brandishing firearms arrived.
At first, it was just a whole bunch of dudes up there waving guns around. Everybody just standing around like that's cool. Like, it's not cool at all.
Locals who told Channel 7 they were at the party that turned deadly said that the group of 4 to 10 individuals openly displaying guns got there around sundown. Some said the men may have been from out of town. Witnesses said it seemed like an altercation broke out, and that's when the gunfire erupted. One witness.
Thank you so much for joining us in person and online. We're here today to discuss the shooting incident that occurred at Fifth Avenue Park on Sunday, April 13th. To my left is Mayor Bart Castleberry. He'll provide a statement from the city. And Chief Chris Harris. He'll provide an update on the shooting investigation. Chief Harris will then take a few questions from members of the media. We'll have a traveling microphone, so just raise your hand and one will be delivered to you. That's so everyone at home can hear. With that, Mayor Castleberry.
Good morning. First, we'd like to express our condolences to the families. I'm a father, I'm a grandfather. I cannot imagine the loss that the family feels for these 2 young lives, 23 and 24 years old. There's no excuse for this. And there's nothing that I can say or anyone else can say that will ease your heartbreak. But on behalf of the city and myself and my family, please know we are sorry for your loss. This event was planned by an out-of-town promoter, and most of the people who attended were from out of town. There were some Conway people there, but the majority of folks who attended were from out of town, and had this gone through the normal processes of the city, this event would not have taken place. The event does not reflect our city, our values, and rest assured we are making sure that this type of incident does not happen in our city again. Our community is safe. You can feel safe. My wife and I take our grandchildren to one different park in the city of Conway every week, and we will continue to do that. I would like to commend the men and women of the Conway Police, Conway Fire, Pafford Ambulance for their tremendous response, as well as the other law enforcement agencies that responded. And I would like to take my hat off to Carol Cruz, our prosecuting attorney, and our staff. Ms. Cruz was there till well past 3 a.m. working with local law enforcement. So Ms. Cruz, thank you. For those of you who are responsible for this, I can tell you that this morning and every day since, that Ms. Cruz, the Conway Police Department, local, federal, and state authorities have been meeting around the clock, and they're in a meeting right now. So I promise you the heat is on you, and they are coming for you, and you will pay for this. At this time, I will turn the microphone over to Police Chief Chris Harris. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here. We'll give you some updates, but while I don't have a lot of updates, obviously this investigation is a day old. So there are things that I'd like to explain and get out. But first, I'd like to take the opportunity, as Mayor Castleberry echoed, in the agencies that were involved that night. When I showed up on scene, it was truly amazing on how many people from all around the different agencies and community people that showed up in support. So I'd like to thank the Arkansas State Police, the Faulkner County Sheriff's Office, Faulkner County OEM, the Conway Fire Department, Pafford Medical Services, the United States Marshal Service, Eastern District, Arkansas Division of Emergency Management, Red Cross, Conway Corporation, M2 Equipment and Rentals, and especially Conway Regional Medical Center and Baptist Medical Center, right? Oftentimes the nurses in the hospitals get put in the back, but they helped us out tremendously and helped a lot of the victims out. On Sunday evening at approximately 7:45 p.m., officers responded to reports of shots fired at 5th Avenue Park here in our city. Upon arrival, officers were met with a chaotic scene and multiple individuals suffering from gunshot wounds. A total of 11 individuals sustained gunshot wounds, and tragically, 2 were pronounced deceased at the scene. Tatiana Penister, age 24, from England, Arkansas, and Demetrius Feimster II, age 23, out of Little Rock. Of the 9 surviving victims who sustained gunshot wounds, 1 remains in serious condition, and as the latest update that I received, is recovering in ICU following surgery. The remaining 8 victims suffered non-life-threatening injuries. As the mayor said, our hearts are with the families of those who lost their lives, as well as the victims impacted by this tragic event. We extend our deepest condolences and support them during this incredible, difficult time. We have confirmed that multiple individuals discharged firearms during this incident. So with that, we're confident at least 6 different weapons, probably more. They involved ranging from handguns to automatic rifles, and it's estimated that over 100 rounds were fired at 5th Avenue Park. So there's like I said, it's still ongoing, it's still evolving. We're following everything, but I wanted to provide some context that's going around. First and foremost, this event was not sanctioned by UCA at all. Okay, they had nothing, they didn't know anything about it. This promoter used their brand. I'm not a scholar in the law. I'm not even sure if that's legal, but they did not have any part in this. Nor was a permit issued by the city of Conway through the process that we have. In many cases like this, not often, but I've been doing this for a long time and dealing with parties former years at UCA, and in all my years here at Conway. The majority of them follow the right process, the processes that we have. This one did not. Certain promoters advertise through flyers about parties. And oftentimes what happens is somebody that wants to go to this party will send through Cash App or other things money, and then you will get the address of the party the day of, or a few hours before sometimes. So these gatherings occur at undisclosed locations, and they have occurred since I've been in law enforcement for the last 26 years around Central Arkansas. We did not find out about this till late Sunday evening, as far as the party at Fifth Avenue Park, right? We knew there was parties Saturday at night because I had received a phone call. And I don't know the exact time frame, but I know one was shut down Saturday night. There was an event at one of the local event centers around there, and it got out of hand and spilled over into Fifth Avenue and Airport Park, and we shut that down. I will say, we do not allow parties like this in Conway. I have been in patrol for my whole career, just about. I've been involved in shutting down hundreds of parties. Unfortunately, I understand members of the community have questions, especially about Sunday, on how this was allowed to happen. And I've explained that we did not find out till Sunday afternoon. The why it continued to happen and why it was not shut down, I understand that there's questions. And I have questions about that, okay? So my office is actively reviewing those concerns. And all aspects of the situation are currently under investigation. And once the process is complete and necessary and appropriate actions will be taken. And I'll stand before you today and tell you that I will let you know what those actions are. Because I'll be the first to say I'm new to this job, but I'm not new to law enforcement. And I understand the members of the community, when they think law enforcement has done something wrong, allegedly, or if they did, they want answers and they want to know the outcome of those things. So hold me to that. I'll tell you in front of the media and everybody else, we'll look into it. And if we did something wrong, I'll be the first to say it. And with that, if anybody has any questions.
Amir Mahmood with the Arkansas Democrat Gazette here. So some of the residents around the park said that police were patrolling prior to the shooting. Were police near the Fifth Avenue Park before the shooting took place?
So with that, yeah, that's one of the where I'm going to investigate. So I'm not going to get into a lot of that, but I would say yes. So it depends on one of the things I have to do. And like I said, this was a day old. And as y'all can imagine, I was in all kinds of meetings yesterday. But today is when I start, and tomorrow even more, I will look at all the calls for service. I do know that there were a few calls out there before the shooting. So I do going to look and see what calls we were, how many calls, what calls were in the city. At the end of the day, we're responsible for answering emergency calls through the whole city as well. So that's part of the investigation.
Can you tell me, I know that you said police were in that area. What is the proper procedure for that? If you find out, okay, that they were in that area, they heard calls and maybe they didn't react possibly soon enough.
So I'm sorry, what was your question? What was the procedure for what now? If they were in?
If they were in that area, are they suspended? What happens?
Well, it just depends on what the investigation, what's the outcome of the investigation. I mean, in our disciplinary process, we have all the way up from, we find that you did at no fault all the way up to termination. So it just depends through that investigation. So if there were calls, that we have to find out what calls they were, what actions were taken by the officers. And so that right now is what I'm trying to figure out.
Do you know how many persons of interest or suspects that you have at this time?
So I will say this, we have had, as you can imagine, with the people out there, the video out there that's online, we have had all kinds of leads. And I wanted to go back and say this actually, that we have all kinds of leads. But as you can imagine, we have different suspect descriptions, different names, different everything. So I don't give anything concrete because in my line of work for all these years, sometimes it doesn't turn out. But know this, the U.S. Marshals of the Eastern District out of Little Rock, they've been on this since they were there that night that I showed up, and they were there all night. Matter of fact, they were meeting. So they're still following up on all leads and everything. And I have the utmost confidence that they will find who's ever involved.
If they didn't have a permit to throw the party, why wasn't it shut down whenever the police had answered calls down there prior to the shooting?
So, well, the thing is, so the permit process works through the city, and they send emails when we have a permit. So we didn't have any information of a permit. You have 500 or 600 people out there. You're going to ask each person who has a permit, right? It's not, you have to prove one, which obviously it was a party. But if a family of 50 wants to go out there and it's not a party, they're just having a family gathering, it's a public park. And I know that probably doesn't answer your question, but we couldn't go to 500 people and say, if not, I'm just guessing, estimate how much they were, and say, did you get a permit with the city? Did you get a permit with the city? Did you get a permit with the city? If that's the case, my officers would be doing that all the time. There's no set number. If you're going to have a party, if you can say, I want to have a party of 30 people and use the pavilion, you have to get a permit. But if you want to have 70 people out there and not use the pavilion, and it's not a party, then you're free to use the park. So, I'll take one more. You want more?
How you all doing? First and foremost, I'll give my sympathy and condolence to the family and the ones that was lost and the ones that was wounded. I lived in Conway almost all my life. And I understand we all have questions for the police department. But I want to say this. The police department, as well as the people of Conway, this was dropped in our lap. They had no knowledge of what's going on. They patrolled, but I'm gonna be honest with you all. It was so many people out there. Man, it would have took a plan of action. That is not something you could have just rushed in and start trying to make people leave and this and that. It's too many weapons. It's too many people. Conway Police Department did all they could when it happened. But this was something a lot of people in Conway didn't know what was going on. We didn't know it was a party being thrown at Fifth Avenue. This was all out of towners. And when it erupted, yes, our police department came through like they supposed to come through with the assisting law enforcement that assisted them, and they did their job. I mean, I'm not knocking you all for asking questions, but don't beat up the police department for something that they had no knowledge of, that was a situation that took planning. It's not a situation you could just rush in to a traffic violation. So y'all allow them to do their job and be patient.
I'm just going to follow up with one thing, and then that's it. These parties are going to continue to happen. Not necessarily Conway, not necessarily Little Rock, North Little Rock, Jacksonville, Pine Bluff, until the promoters of these parties who do it illegally and backdoor are held liable. I don't know if that's criminal. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a prosecutor, or civil. But until that, because I promise you, here's this. I know my officers, men and women, were out there as well as Pastor Maltbia consoling the families. That promoter wasn't. When we had the two deceased people, young people there, we're the ones standing around, waiting, doing the investigation. The promoters weren't there. So it's time that somebody's held liable for this. Thank you.
All right. Thoughts? Come on in, folks. All right. So, what's your thoughts about what you heard here? We got some information that we did not know prior. One, this was an unauthorized, unpermitted, unsanctioned event at a park in Conway, Arkansas, just north of Little Rock. We got a comment here from Jonathan Avery. Nice to see you, Jonathan. Psycho Sunday, Maniac Monday, Twisted Tuesday. You're all in it every day, Jay. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. Love the name. What they're saying in this case is outsiders started sharing flyers about an event, outside promoters. And they just, for some reason, chose Conway. I guess maybe because they have a nice park there. They just decided, hey, we're going to do it here. Whoa. Crazy. Looks like they probably might be going after the promoters too. Promoters could be in big trouble here, just like the shooters. But yeah, you know, out of towners. You heard the two victims that the officer shared, the two victims that lost their life. They're not even from there either. It's all out of towners coming in, congregating. Now you heard from that one resident saying it's not the police fault. It's not the police fault. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? But let me ask all of you something. Police officers should be patrolling, right? What would you do if you're a police officer and then you just notice as a patrol person, because you heard that police were out there patrolling beforehand and you saw potential problems. You saw groups and groups and groups. We're talking hundreds of people. Wouldn't you think as a patrolman, oh, I better call for backup? Better get this, figure out what's going on here and kind of monitor the situation and call maybe the state police? Thank you, AF. Amy. Wow, Conway is one horse town. Quiet and peaceful. Thank you for the comment. But that's crazy. Now, we've covered these type of incidents over and over when it comes to pop-up parties. This is similar to a pop-up party. Reason being, you heard the officer. They literally don't tell you the location, and they literally want you to Cash App or Venmo or PayPal money to the promoters, and at the very last second, they'll tell you the address. They'll tell you the address so you can go there, like within an hour or two before. I'm sure once someone gets the address, the cat goes out of the bag and they share it out, and people that didn't pay will go, whatever. But they're trying to make money by having it sneaky, last minute sneaky, like a pop-up party. Pop-up parties. And we've discussed the dangers of these pop-up parties that happen where once people come, rival groups, juveniles, gun-toting, spinning around parking lots with their vehicles, twerking, hanging out on the roofs. And next thing you know, someone starts pulling out a gun and bam, bam, bam. Sometimes these crazies go to these events and walk around armed. They walk around armed before even the shooting happened. Like, I'm not saying this guy's the shooter here on the right. I'm not saying this guy's the shooter on the right, because it could be in the same situation how it was in La Cruces when that one guy that was toting a gun, which he's probably going to be charged, by the way, and everyone blamed him as the shooter. He ended up not being the shooter. However, he's there with a gun, like a AR-15 style rifle. Well, look at the photo here. You got a masked person here. I'm not saying this is the gunman. I'm just saying when you have an event here, and this is circulating, so this was at the park, mask, orange hat, semi-automatic or automatic weapon, running around toting, you got problems. Now, that resident saying, why would police go in there and try to break it up when it's a crazy environment, people are getting guns? That's what the police are there to do, to stop it. So they shouldn't be afraid. There should be no coward as far as law enforcement. When they see something that's should not be there or potential problems, they need to break it up. And if that requires law enforcement to get the flash grenades, the flashbangs, the tear gas to disperse the crowd, then so be it. So be it. If it means it's going to save lives, because this is crazy, folks. Absolutely crazy. And we're now almost 48 hours into this. No arrests. No description of suspect. We don't know how many suspects there are. We don't know if it's a suspect, but knowing with all those fire guns doesn't sound like it was done by one person. So yeah, they'll find them eventually. They'll find them, but you would expect maybe even law enforcement to at least give descriptions or share with the public. I'm wondering what the residents of Conway are feeling right now. If you're a resident of Conway, share in the chat, please. Love to hear from you. Tips at JLR Investigates. What in the heck is happening here in Conway? Is this an Arkansas thing? Is this normally the officer was acting like they do these parties like in the central part of the state quite frequently and just unsanctioned events. It's pretty crazy. Again, one of the victims was a sister to a Kansas City Chiefs football player, BJ Thompson. He's saying his sister. He's saying that his sister was a victim. Tatiana Pennister. I mean, just a couple of days ago, we were sharing a press conference with a sheriff in South Carolina, talking about these events that happen on these, like, I guess at just little like parking lots in a small town in South Carolina where the youth gather and then it just gets crazy. Look what just happened in Crosby, Texas over the weekend. Mass shooting at a gas station. Why? Because 100 people gathered all of the sudden. And I know that Harris County sheriffs knew this was going on, just like Conway police knew it was going on beforehand. You heard from the reporters, they were patrolling. You're patrolling and you see, I mean, come on, officers, man, you see this. Call the backup. Call the state police. It's not normal to have hundreds of people in a park. It's just not normal. Especially all these youths. You see all the loud music. Probably toting guns in front of the cops. The cops right didn't do nothing. It's very sad. This thing could have been prevented. I think this thing could have been absolutely prevented. So that's the update. I mean, he took some questions, but there was more people in that press conference that was raising their hands, saying, I want to talk. And he kind of wanted to dip out of there. I understand it's the pressure. I mean, I do think, my personal opinion, I do think law enforcement was at fault here for not stopping beforehand. Not even going in there and just even making their presence known. They're probably scared. Probably who knows? Maybe the officer was scared and they saw groups of 100 African Americans and they're like, I ain't going in there. Kind of like Parkland shooter, right? Parkland shooting, well, like a school shooting, and you got one officer that's a resource officer that's supposed to go in there and stop it, instead runs the other way. And gets scared and goes, like, gets out of Dodge. Like, that's your job. You're a law enforcement officer. Protect and serve. When you see potential problems, you go into the fire and you stop the situation. I'm not saying go in there and start toting the gun to the officers, but at least let their presence, come over there and walk around and talk to everybody there. Hey, what's going on? Just make their presence known. What's going on here? Who's the organizer? Let me have a word with you. What's going on here? That would probably be the good thing for a law enforcement to do when they see these things popping up and they're like, well they might have a computer system. And they're like, well, I don't see this thing. I don't see a permit here. Usually with the permits of large events, the law enforcement knows about these events that are happening via the permit. Most law enforcement, the permit people, whatever like that, notify law enforcement about an event that's going to happen on a certain time and date. So law enforcement can make their presence there, be prepared, sit back, fall back a little bit, just watch the situation. But they know it's a permanent event. They know. And they're there, and if there's a call of something crazy, they'll swoop in and to handle the situation. But they know, and if a permit gets approved, permit gets approved. But in this case, no permit, unsanctioned, large groups of kids, probably juveniles, out-of-towners. Not only that, it's like that's like saying, folks, that you are a small community and you have law enforcement, a couple law enforcement. I don't know how big their police force is, maybe 10, maybe 20, maybe 5 officers. I don't know how big their community is. Looks like a small community. But just imagine you're an officer in your own community, and suddenly, out of the blue in front of your eyes, you see massive amounts of cars and people piling up into a park, and none of them are from your town. And you don't recognize none of them, and yet you don't do nothing to even go in there and investigate. Don't even go in there to see what's up. Again, officers probably should have got out of the vehicle, walked over there. Hey, how you doing? My name's Officer Friendly. How's everybody going? Everything cool? Walk around. Hey, who organized this? Can I have a word with you? Pull the organizer to the side. Yo, where's your permit? What's going on here? I think you need to shut this down. In the meantime, the officer calls up some backup, gets some state police in there. They got state police in Arkansas, right? Not just the Conway police. They got county sheriffs. Call the backup. Put a stop to this. Lives could be saved. Lives could be saved. But anyway, folks, they're killers. They're killers out on the loose. CTJ Entertainment. You are crazy. Cops go in and then they get blamed for racially profile. This guy isn't aware of today's America. Well, I mean, that you have a point, CTJ. They maybe have to tread lightly because they don't want to be looked at as racist officers going in there and disrupting a party. But at the same time, you got something there that's non-permanent, whatever. You need to go in there and do something about it. I get it. Maybe the officer's like, it's not worth it because I don't want to be all over the news as being a racist or go in there trying to stop a party. And everyone's going to call me a racist and have their photo and have the officer's photo out there. Because, if an officer went in there and just even investigated, everybody's pulling out their cameras and they're all going to the office. I get it. That's a good comment. I appreciate that. I get it. Critter Mama says, it isn't the police fault, JLR. I think there's a lot of responsibility across the board. This isn't the police fault, JLR. Put the blame where it belongs. Where does the blame belong? If it's not the police fault, and I think the police have a responsibility here to break up these events before they get out of hand or break up gatherings. You don't think it's suspicious at all when hundreds of people are all gathered at a park and you're patrolling and your job is to patrol? You don't think it's suspicious at all? And you don't have, you just turn a blind eye and just keep going. So, it does bring an interesting conversation. And I appreciate all your perspective on this case. Someone's getting arrested for this. That's the bottom line. So, and I also think the promoters, there might be some lawsuits on the promoters. Not only that, but the criminal charges maybe on the promoters. And some places don't, some people don't know they have to get a permit either. Some places don't require a permit. Some people don't know you have to get a permit. Different states and different communities have their rules, regulations, and policies regarding permits. Some people don't know. Some places you can't even go on a sidewalk with more than 5 people. And they'll shut it down and say you need a permit, even if you're First Amendment expressing yourself on a sidewalk. But the videos that I've seen beforehand look like it was pretty wild. People wilding out there, man. People wilding out. So it is a good conversation for sure. When someone gets arrested out of this, we'll share mugshots. We'll share the people. Share this video out. Appreciate all of you in the chat. We'll leave it at that. And we're praying for all the victims' families, praying for the law enforcement, praying for everyone involved here. Stay safe out there. Remind your kids, if you got kids, avoid these type of things because things can get ugly. It can get bad very, very quickly. Who was the promoters? I'll try to do a little digging. We'll stay with this story and follow it through. JLR investigates. All right, I'm signing off. Sub to the channel, hit the notification button. We'll talk soon. Pray for peace, folks. Take care of yourself. Love your loved ones. Be safe. JLR investigates.